Hello everyone, thanks for joining us today. My name is Manish, I'm Senior Engineering Manager in Cloudflare. I head DOS platform within Cloudflare, and today we will talk about a couple of things. The agenda is packed. I'll talk about the DDoS threat landscape, how's that evolving. I'll go a little deeper into financial industry trends that we've seen over past quarter or so, or maybe a couple of years as well. And then I'll have some 5 predictions on how we see the attacks will evolve. Follow it up with some best practices that I can share with you. And then, of course, I'll have some time towards the end to take any questions that you may have. I'll also be available afterwards for any chat, or you can reach out to me on my email ID that I've just noted down here on the slides. All right, with that, let's get started. What did I do? Is that visible?
You can see this.
All right, okay. All right, so we are doing this for 5 years, presenting or preparing a quarterly report about all the DDoS attacks that we see on our network. This is the 20th edition. All the reports are available at ddosreport.com. All reports are linked from here. So if you want to go deep, read, all the reports are here. Now, looking at all mitigation sources, I wanted to see where the DDoS threat stands in context of overall threat landscape. And out of all threats that we have mitigated, DDoS attacks have the highest percentage. It came out around 58.5% of all the mitigations that we have done are DDoS-based mitigations. Now, and as you can see, we mitigated 21.3 million attacks, which is around 53% increase year on year. This roughly comes out to be around 4,870 attacks per hour. Hundreds of hypervolumetric attacks, attacks that exceed 1 terabits per second or 1 million packets per second. We have started to see a rise in those attacks as well. We started to see hypervolumetric attacks around Q3 2024, and since then we have been seeing them grow. The split between the application layer attack and the network layer attack is almost equal, but application layer attacks have been increasing. This split was way more in favor of network layer attacks. However, in last couple of quarters, we have started to see application layers attack pick up more and more. The 6.9 million attacks that we mitigated in Q4 2024 is 16% increase in quarter on quarter and 83% increase year on year. Now, going a little deeper into the application layer attacks, 73% of attacks that we mitigated were from known DDoS botnets. Now, this is possible as a result of massive network that we operate, close to 300 plus data centers across the world. And I think we receive around 22-23% of internet traffic. So we see a lot of botnet activities, we see a lot of attacks. And this gives us and our researchers to be able to craft heuristics that can then mitigate these attacks. Now, 11% attacks were caught pretending to be browsers, and I think that's another challenge that we are seeing, that the attack traffic is becoming increasingly similar to the legitimate traffic that we see from browsers. And 11% of the attacks we saw was botnets trying to imitate browsers. The other 10% is unusual HTTP attributes, those attributes which do not make sense in the context of a protocol. For example, just too many headers. There aren't any valid requests with that many headers, but botnets aren't always that smart. So we see another 10%. Now, one quick thing to note here is that all these attack vectors are not mutually exclusive. There are some botnets that are trying to impersonate browsers as well as have unusual HTTP attributes. So this is our attempt to make some kind of a distinction in a meaningful way. Now, looking at the user agents in the application layer attacks, as of today, the stable version of Chrome is 135. This is across all platforms, Mac, Android, Windows platform. However, attacker seems to be running behind. The attacks that we see have user agents ranging from 117 to 129. In very recent months, we have started to see user agents as 131 and 132 participate in attacks as well. So the another interesting user agent here is HITV_ST_platform. This user agent is used by set-top boxes or smart TVs. However, what we observed is that 99.9% of requests that we receive from this user agent is all participating in DDoS attack. That means if you receive traffic from this user agent, there is only 0.1% chance that this is a valid traffic. The another interesting user agent is Hackney 1.20. Hackney is a HTTP library used in Erlang ecosystem. We saw 93% of traffic which had this user agent was all DDoS attacks. That means if you receive traffic with user agent as Hackney, there is only 7% chance that it's a legitimate traffic. Moving to the network layer attacks, SYN floods, DNS floods, UDP floods, all three combined take a 65% as the total DDoS attacks that we received at a network layer. Now, SYN packets are SYN floods are the easiest and the most effective DDoS attacks. Now, SYN packets are the first packets that are sent as part of TCP handshake. So anytime a connection is being made by a browser to the server, a SYN packet is sent to establish a connection. To establish this connection, server needs to maintain some resources to understand from where to receive the next packets. Now, overwhelming of SYN packets could exhaust the server's resources, and this is one of the easiest attack vector, and we continue to see being the most used attack vector as well. Another one is DNS attacks. Now, DNS attacks are effective because if attacker is able to take down the DNS infrastructure, effectively the whole telephone directory of the company is gone. That means all the domains that this company operates is no longer available, which means the DNS floods have a very high blast radius in a way. The interesting bit that we saw here is Mirai, which is 6%. So Mirai here that I've listed down is not just Mirai, it's Mirai plus all the variants of Mirai. We see 6% of all our network layer attacks coming from Mirai or Mirai variants. This is 131% increase quarter on quarter. So Mirai variant is becoming more and more active in last couple of quarters. And interestingly, the largest DDoS attack on record is by Mirai, one of the Mirai variants. We saw this massive 5.6 terabits per second of attack on October 29, 2024. Close to 13,000 IoT devices participated in this attack. This was against our Magic Transit customer, which is a service provider in East Asia. Now, this attack lasted for around 80 seconds. And out of these 13,000 IPs that we saw participate here, there were only 5,500 IPs that were active at any given point of time. And at each IP was able to generate 1 gigabits per second of bandwidth. This attack was mitigated without any internal turbulence on any of our systems. There were no alerts, no human intervention required. This was purely detected and mitigated by our autonomous defense systems. In fact, we were all sleeping in UK when this attack happened around 12:07 in the night. This is one internal channel that we have where the largest attacks, we get a notification. And as you can see, the next day morning, you could see a few exclamation marks around, yeah, this is the largest that we have seen so far. As I was talking about the hypervolumetric DDoS attacks, we have seen I think around 400 plus of these volumetric attacks, which means attack which is either 1 terabits per second or 100 million packets per second. Now, this is close to, I think, around 2000% increase quarter on quarter, which is insane, but that I would give that to a low denominator here. Coming to the attack size and durations that we see, majority of the attacks do not last very long. I think around 63% of attacks are less than 50,000 RPS. Only 3% of attacks at application layer are 100 million requests per second or beyond. This is a similar story that we see at a network layer as well. Only I think 90% of the attacks are under 500 megabits per second, and that's on the size. On the duration, they last less than 10 minutes. I think 90% of attacks less than 10%. Less than 10% of attacks. Less than 90% of the attacks last less than 10 minutes, and only 2% of attacks are over an hour. So a very tiny sliver of attacks that last even 24 hours. This is a big shift that we are seeing in terms of attack duration. Looking at the geo spread of attacks, in 2024 Q4, China maintained its position as the most attacked country. Now we use a ranking algorithm that takes into account network layer attacks, application layer attacks, bytes, packets, relative and absolute to compute these rankings. Now Philippines makes its position as the second most attacked country, and India and Egypt join the top 10. Now to make sense of from where we get these attacks, the interesting thing that we need to look at is that these are not the attacked countries. These are our customers who have their billing country. So for example, we group them based on our customers' billing country. So please do not take this as that these countries are attacked. Now, largest sources of DDoS attacks. Indonesia, again, remains the largest source of DDoS attack worldwide. This is for the second consecutive quarter. Now, to understand from where, where attacks are coming from, we map the source IP address launching the application layer attack. However, for network layer attack, because the IP addresses can be spoofed, we take into account the data center or a colo in which we ingested the attack. This removes any kind of a spoofability that can be there at a network layer attack. Looking at the top attacked industries, telecommunications, service provider, and carrier has been the topmost attacked industry in Q4 of 2024. This industry was at number 3 in Q3 2024. Followed up by the internet as the attacked industry, which has again moved 3 points above. Interestingly, banking and financial services was the topmost attacked industry in Q3 2024. However, it has moved to position number 8 in Q4 2024. And I'll be talking a little more in depth about financial industry as we move forward. Looking at the autonomous systems from where we get these attacks. An autonomous system is a large network or a group of networks which has a unified routing policy. Now, for us, when we were looking at from where we get these attacks, which networks from where we get attacks, a few autonomous systems stand out. The topmost is Hertzner from Germany. We get 5% of all our attacks from Hertzner. The second one is DigitalOcean in United States, followed up by the OVH in France. Now we totally understand that it is very hard for autonomous systems to know from where a malicious activity is originating from their network. To help them, we have provided them with this free botnet threat feed, which any AS owner can go and register, and they will get this feed for free, where we list down all the IP addresses from where we saw the attack. Then they can take the corrective actions on the report. Now, whenever we mitigate a DDoS attack, we send out a survey to our customers. There are a bunch of questions in that survey. One of the question is, who do you think attacked you? 74% of respondents responded with unknown. That means they don't know who attacked them. For those who responded, said 40% of attack was motivated or was from their competitor. 17% said either a state level actor or state sponsored behind the attack, and similar percentage said either a disgruntled customer or a user is behind the attack. Interestingly, there are 7% of respondents who says, we know from where we got this attack. This is a self DDoS attack. Either we were testing something or doing something where we DDoSed ourselves. Lastly, I want to address the submarine cable cuts. Now, recent incidents involving submarine cable cuts highlight the growing risk of technical disruption as a potential attack vector. Over the past 2 years, there have been around 400 undersea cable cuts globally. While many of these are accidental, fishing activities going on, natural events, ship anchors, some incidents have raised concerns about potential sabotage, and this could be perhaps the most fundamental layer 1 or layer 2 DDoS attacks. Moving to financial industry, globally we observed a decrease in threats against our customers in financial industry. 1.8% of traffic was attack traffic in Q4 as compared to 3% of the attack traffic at the same time last year. However, when we look at UK more specifically, we see a very, very different trend here. Within Q4 2024, financial services in UK was hit the hardest, with 24.5% of requests being a threat in financial industry within UK. Looking more deeply into the industries within financial sector, we see investment management and capital market being the topmost attacked industries. The financial software industry, which is fintech, was the highest attacked industry in 2023. However, in 2024, they are at number 5. Now, looking at which countries are attacked most looking at which financial websites are hit most by country, we see a broad pattern. Iraq, Bahamas, Austria, Palestine, and Kenya are the topmost countries where financial services are hit the most. This means the percentage share of attack traffic to peace traffic is highest in these countries. So it's the ratio of attack traffic to the good traffic is highest here. That means it's the percentage share of attack traffic is high. Now, please note that these are all threat against financial industry, not just DDoS. I'll move on to the 5 main predictions for 2025 based on what we have seen. Some of this was alluded earlier. We are seeing a trend towards botnets using IoT devices to botnets using virtual machines in data centers or in service providers. What we have observed is the botnets that are virtual machine based botnets, they are 5,000 times more powerful. And we have started to see hypervolumetric DDoS attacks in Q3 2024, and we think we'll see this trend continue in 2025. Earlier, we were talking about multi-vector attacks. We totally agree that multi-vector attacks are something that's on the rise, and attacks that are imitating browsers are also at rise. And we'll continue to see these ultra sophisticated attacks to continue in 2025. Another trend is that we are seeing adoption of quick protocol. That's a new protocol replacing HTTP2. Fully random, and that protocol is based on UDP protocol instead of a TCP protocol. And we clearly see, attacks that are leveraging vulnerabilities within the quick protocol, as well as fully randomized UDP attacks. We think we'll see more of those in 2025. Another interesting point that we have observed is that globally there are many machines and devices that are not fully patched. That means they're still running an older version, or they have some malware or vulnerability on them. This, coupled with the use of AI, we think we will see more of recycling of DDoS attack methods. For example, earlier we saw Mirai variant able to generate the largest ever DDoS attack. We think we will see the recycling of old attack methods with AI plus these vulnerable machines across the globe. Another trend we think will continue is that there will be a shift from ransomware-based DDoS attacks to more geopolitical-based, geopolitical-driven DDoS attacks. Now, coming to some of the best practices that one can do to protect themselves against these DDoS attacks. At Cloudflare, we highly encourage customers to adopt the positive and negative security model. This means utilizing all security products and offerings together to build a security posture that allows only the valid traffic attributes. Now, this generally means proactively reviewing your network attributes and network needs and either blocking, rate limiting, or challenging the traffic that you do not expect. Couple of the key network attributes or couple of the key application layer attributes that you can use is look at the user agents. I shared some of the user agents that have a high percentage share of DDoS attacks. Have a rule in your firewalls or other systems that can block based on these suspicious user agents. Similarly, from the ASNs that you do not expect traffic, put a rate limit rule. Similarly, if you do not expect a HTTP method, block it. There is no need for you to keep it open for attackers to be able to exploit it. Another interesting thing that we see, or we recommend, is enable caching. This might not come across as a attack mitigation technique, but it's a very powerful mitigation technique where you are not worried about any of your cached resources being attacked. So we highly encourage everyone to enable caching on your infrastructure. Similar concepts apply at network layer. A block, challenge, or rate limit based on different attributes. Only allow what you expect. Rest all either rate limit, challenge, or block depending on the conditions. So I think the general thing we say is review your network, review your requirements, basis that only allow what you expect. That's pretty much from my side. Thank you, everyone.